Dear friends, my name is Nausheen Nizami, and in today's session I am going to discuss with you some popular criterions of welfare economics using which you can evaluate the economic state of any country or region. So friends, this is the first series of this session in which we will be discussing three important criterions, and we will take up three more criterions in our next session. So before we move to the criterions, let us recall what is social welfare. So social welfare basically deals with the general well-being of a community or a society. And whenever we discuss about social welfare programs, you will find that these programs basically aim at protecting citizens from economic risks and insecurities of life. So if during the COVID-19 crisis there is a social welfare program, it would be aiming at providing incomes to the people who have lost jobs, or to the people who are having a temporary gap in their jobs and incomes, and it would also aim at providing them health facilities and providing them food. So social welfare program basically intends at improving the general well-being of a community or society. Social welfare schemes are actually designed in such a way that they improve the well-being of target groups. So it may not be improving the conditions of everyone, but generally to whomever the welfare scheme has been designed, you will see that there would be an improvement in their welfare. So in India also we have schemes like Manrega, we have schemes like Ayushman Bharat, which are aimed at improving the conditions of the poor people, the lower income groups, and few schemes cater at the health facilities and improving the access of medical and health facilities, as well as few schemes aim at providing jobs, few schemes aim at providing free education. So they could be of multiple nature. Now, how do you evaluate such social welfare schemes? For that, you require the help of criterions. So, the first criterion which we are going to discuss is known as growth of GNP. GNP implies gross national product. So, this approach or this criterion is based on the idea of classical economics. And Adam Smith had an argument that economic growth can translate into social welfare. So basically, Adam Smith had assumed that the growth of the wealth of a society actually is the growth of the gross national product, and this can be used as a welfare criterion. According to him, he believed that if an economy is growing, if the growth rate of GNP is consistently rising, it would indicate that the general well-being of the people would also improve. So according to him, the formula was very simple. High economic growth rate translates into high employment and more availability of goods and services. How is that possible? If the GDP growth is rising, or if the GNP growth rate is rising, then it basically implies that more output is being produced, and for producing more output you will need more people, you will need more labor, so it will also automatically create more employment opportunities, and once this production is over there would be more availability of goods and services in the market. So the growth criterion which has been given by the classical economists is based on the idea of efficiency. So efficiency is naturally a necessary prerequisite for the maximization of social welfare as per these classical economists. However, the general criticism behind this approach is that possibly this approach ignores the inequalities, because when the GNP growth rate is rising, it doesn't guarantee that the situation of all the people are improving. It is possible that the GNP rises and it only improves the well-being of the upper income groups, while it actually may increase inequalities between the poor and the rich. So, how equitable is the distribution of the fruits of economic growth, and how much they trickle down to the grassroots level, that element has been ignored in the first criterion. Let's move to the next criterion, which is known as Bentham's criterion, because it is based on the idea of Jeremy Bentham, who was also a classical economist. So as per Jeremy Bentham, welfare can be improved when there is greatest good for the greatest number. In simple words, basically it implies that if the total welfare is maximum or if the total welfare is highest, then you can say that social welfare is also higher. So if individual welfares are constantly improving, it basically implies that social welfare is also constantly improving. However, the total welfare is sum of utilities. As per Jeremy Bentham, he is following an approach where, according to him, total welfare is the sum of utilities of individuals of society. For that, you need to know that what are the actual utilities of different people in the society. If we have to give it and express it in the form of a formula, then W, which stands for social welfare, is equal to, say, utility of A person plus utility of B person plus utility of C person. So if there are three individuals in a society, as per Jeremy Bentham, social welfare is a sum total of the individual utilities of society members. So increase in social welfare will occur if there is an increase in the utilities of all the three individuals. The criticism is that utilities may not improve for all individuals in the same degree. So this is quite true. It is possible that the net gain in the utilities of A and B individuals may offset, say, a temporary loss in the utility of C individual. But if the outcome is positive, if the total utility when it has been summed up for all the three individuals is positive, then it basically is indicating that social welfare is rising, although there may be inequality between the utilities of A, B and C, and one of them may also be slowing down or maybe stagnant. So because this criterion has not kept into consideration the weights, that's why this criterion has also been criticized. The next criterion that we are going to talk about is known as cardinalist criterion, because it is based on the principle of law of diminishing marginal utility, which was a part of cardinal utility theory. So several economists have actually proposed that we can also use law of diminishing marginal utility as a criterion of welfare. And how the argument is made? The argument is that social welfare can be maximized if income is equally distributed to all members of society. Now the criticism that this approach has earned, it assumes that equal marginal utility of money for all individuals in the society. And the second is that there is equal income distribution may actually reduce work incentives and total output. This may not be true. Let us try to understand the second point with the help of an example. So supposingly in a society there are three individuals. Individual 1 has an income of 1000 rupees. Individual 2 and 3 have an income of 500 rupees each. Now clearly individual 1 who has an income of 1000 rupees has double income as compared to individual 2 and 3. However, whoever has more income, accordingly they would also have less utility. So as per the law of diminishing marginal utility, the marginal utility of money for individual 1 would be lower than the marginal utility of money for individual 2 and 3. Keeping this into consideration, we can say that if social welfare has to be increased, then actually the income must be redistributed in such a manner that all individuals have equal income. However, as I said, this entire argument has been criticized because first of all, it's not possible that the marginal utility of money is equal for everyone, and secondly, it does not mean that if the national income is redistributed in such a way that everyone gets the same income, then it would lead to efficiency or it would lead to improvement in social welfare. Actually, in reality, the equal distribution of income may reduce work incentives and also total output. So people may be demotivated to work more, to work for longer hours, or to work more productively and efficiently if they know that the income that they are going to get is the same as someone else who is not working much is getting. And this demotivation may also get reflected into reduction of total output. So that is why even the cardinalist criterion has been criticized on practical grounds. These are the three prominent approaches of welfare economics. We will discuss the other three approaches in the next session. Till then, all of you take care and have a nice day ahead.